Take your Bibles. Go to Genesis chapter 27. Genesis chapter 27. Tonight we're going to look at a family divided. A family divided. We're going to see a mother and a father are playing favorites with their two sons. We're going to see a wife purposefully undermine her husband's authority. Personally, I think that was, he lost some respect in her eyes and some trust from Genesis chapter 26. We're going to see a son purposefully deceive his father. We're going to see a brother rob another brother. We're going to see a father ignore a contract between siblings, and instead he chooses favoritism. And then we're going to see a brother plot murder against a brother. So this chapter brings up a lot of problems in this family. Genesis 27, let's look at verses 1 through 5. It says, "And it came to pass that when Isaac was old and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau his son and said unto him, My son? And he said unto him, Behold, here am I. And he said, Behold now, I am old, I know not the day of my death. Now therefore take, I pray thee, thy weapons, thy quiver and thy bow, and go out to the field, and take me some venison. And make me savory meat, such as I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, that my soul may bless thee before I die. And Rebekah heard when Isaac spake to Esau his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt for venison, and to bring it." Let's go to God in a word of prayer tonight. God, we come before you, and we ask for your wisdom in this passage, and God, I ask for a blessing tonight that we'd learn something from your word as we study the scriptures tonight. In Jesus' name, amen. So Isaac feels like he's about to die. I went and did the math. Okay, this is some rough math. I can't narrow it down for sure exactly, but it's pretty close. He's at the point of death. He dies about 30 plus years from now. He's at the point of death. He's got quite a ways to go before he dies. I was trying to figure that out, doing some backwards research on that, and I'm like, wow, 30 years from now he's going to die. And part of me, I'm thinking, oh, brother, oh, man, now the phone's broken. Did you show her a trick?
I just turned the volume down. It's still going. Yeah, don't want the floor, it'll stop working.
Yeah.
I dropped mine at least twice.
That's why you put them in a case, you know? No, Isaac, I think he's, because of his sight going, who knows what, I'm not sure what it was like for Abraham. It seemed like Abraham had good vision all the way till his death. Maybe one of the things I've wondered is maybe this is at this point now some degenerative features, aspects of mankind was starting to happen and be more common amongst men. And so here he is, his eyesight is going. He's sounds like he's legally blind, because we're going to see here someone comes in to portray Esau, and he can't even tell the difference. He cannot visually tell who it is. And so he's probably thinking, man, I'm going to die soon, which he's not. He just can't see very well. And it's going to be 30 plus years before he does actually go. I do find it interesting. I was looking at these 5 verses. Esau's not willing to give, or sorry, let me rephrase that. Jacob is not, wow, I'm mixed. This is going to be a good night. We're starting off great. Isaac is not willing to bless Esau until he gives him something. He's not giving him something. Esau's having to earn this blessing. I saw that. I thought, man, is this a blessing or is this a reward for him? And so he tells Esau, hey, go out, go get me some venison, the stuff that I like, and bring it back, cook it, and I'll eat it, and then I'm going to bless you once you've taken care of good old dad. Well, let's jump down to verses 16 through 17 here. It says, and Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, saying, behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau thy brother, saying, bring me venison and make me savory meat, that I may eat and bless thee before the Lord before my death. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice according to that which I command thee. Go now to the flock, and fetch me from thence 2 good kids of the goats, and I will make them savory meat for thy father, such as he loveth. And thou shalt bring it to thy father, that he may eat, and that he may bless thee before his death. And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. My father peradventure will feel me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver, and I shall bring a curse upon me, and not a blessing. And his mother said unto him, upon me be thy curse, my son. Only obey my voice, and go fetch me them. And he went and fetched and brought them to his mother, and his mother made savory meat, such as his father loved. And Rebekah took goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau, which was with her in the house, and put them upon Jacob her younger son. And she put the skin of the kids of the goats upon his hands, and upon the smooth of his neck, and she gave the savory meat and the bread, which she had prepared, into the hand of her son Jacob. Rebekah colludes against her husband with Jacob. She hears Isaac tell Esau, hey, go get the venison, come back, I'm going to bless you. Why would she feel the need to do this? Why would Rebekah think it's okay for her to do what she's about to do with Jacob?
Because she remembers the commandment, the voice of God telling her.
She remembers the voice of God telling her that the elder would serve the younger. The younger brother would be the one that would rise up. She had 2 great nations, but the elder nation would serve the younger nation. And the younger nation would become stronger. And so Rebekah here thinks, I need to help God out. That's exactly what it is. She thinks she's got to help God because God told her that this is going to happen. And she thinks, oh man, if Esau gets blessed, there'll be nothing for Jacob. It won't come to pass. If Jacob did, or if Isaac did bless Esau, well, let's wait there. We'll get there. It's in my notes, but it's not here yet. We'll get there in a minute. But yeah, she thinks she's got to help him out. The other thing I notice here is a couple of things. Either Rebekah's a really good cook. Jacob has no taste buds left at this age. We do know there was a lot of seasoning used because it says that she made him savory meat, or it's all of the above. Because how do you take goat and somebody thinks it's venison? Huh? I will say this, they get 2 kids of the goats. So it's fresh, young meat. And I think that's the key there. I think if she got an old goat, yeah, you might notice the difference. But she got a young baby goats. Okay? And so, man, she's an amazing cook. Make that taste like venison. But she put enough spices on it, I guess, that just spice it up for him. He don't know I don't know. I've had different meats, and you can kind of tell the difference between them. But I guess when it's that fresh, man, he just probably thought, wow, this thing's cutting like butter. He got a good deer for this one. Jacob here, he's a lot like some Christians. Look at what he says in verse 12. Because here she is, she's telling them, hey, this is what we're going to do. He says, my father peradventure will feel me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver. And I shall bring a curse upon me, and not a blessing. Jacob was worried because he was a smooth man. Esau was hairy, which how hairy of a man. I don't know if I've ever seen someone this hairy that you could have taken goat skin and someone could feel that and then feel Esau and it would feel the same. I don't think I've seen a man that hairy. I've seen some hairy men, but not that hairy. My word. That he's got, man, he can put goat skin on and Dad's like, oh yeah, that's my son Esau. Because when he's blind, I guarantee you his sense of touch is that sense is heightened. Because he's lost one that he has relied upon. Jacob here, he's a lot like Christians in the sense he says, I shall seem to him as a deceiver. Jacob's trying to be something that he's trying to be something he's not, and he's trying to portray himself as something that he's not. He doesn't want to appear to be a deceiver. The bottom line is Jacob being a deceiver? Yeah, he is. He's on purpose going to go in and deceive his dad. He's going to trick his dad. But I don't want to be I don't want to be as a deceiver. It's too late. You already are. How many times do we go through the Christian life sometimes and we try to appear something that we're not, rather than being the thing that we're trying to appear as? Often I feel like don't get me wrong. It's good to be in church, good to be in the house of God, good to be here. But sometimes I think we've got to be careful that it just doesn't become this thing that we do or become this show that we do. All right. One of the things that can happen, and I've seen it in some Christians, is they get some standards in their life, and their standards become their level of success in the Christian life. And it's like, well, because I'm wearing these clothes, I must be a good Christian. Because I'm coming to church, I'm a good Christian. But then they're not actually living anything that's in the Word of God. They're not showing love one to another. They're not out there trying to tell the gospel to people. And the very commands that God has made clear, they're not doing. But hey, as a guy, I'm coming in with a shirt and tie on for church, so I must be a good Christian. It's like, well, then Paul was a horrible Christian because he never wore one. And it's like that doesn't guarantee your level of Christianity. But then, they're backbiting, they're gossiping, they're not showing love for the brethren. And it's well, I want to appear to be this way, but I'm not going to do the work to be that. A lot of times we're like Jacob. We got to be careful not to be that way. I don't want to seem as a deceiver. It's too late. You are a deceiver because that's what you're being. But you want to appear as something else. It's he's the original hypocrite here. Doesn't want to appear as something that he really is. And we need to be careful that we don't allow that in our own life. That we don't allow ourselves to try to appear as one way, but then the reality is we act something totally different. Well, I'm here in church. It's like, okay, but do you get in the Bible alone? Do you have some personal time with God by yourself? And it's like, well, I don't do that. Then what good's being in church? You don't starve your body except for 2 days a week, right? We eat 2 days a week. Man, our spiritual growth, it's relying upon this. It's relying upon having a relationship with God. And when we don't put that as an emphasis, we don't make sure that we're doing that, we're hurting ourselves. And then we're being a hypocrite to others because we're trying to portray ourselves as something that we're not. Rebecca here, these words she says, when she says them, when I read this, I'm like, man, she didn't fully grasp and understand, I think, what she was really saying. In verse 13, Jacob makes his statements, and Rebekah says, "Upon me be thy curse, my son. Only obey my voice and go fetch me them." I don't think she fully was prepared for what was going to happen, because shortly after this, she separated from Jacob, never to see him again. We'll see in the next chapter that he ends up going somewhere else. And I don't know the length of time between the end of chapter 27 and the beginning of chapter 28, but I don't think it's very much time that drags in between there. I think it's maybe a few months, if that. And Jacob leaves for Rebekah never to see him again. Her favorite son, she ends up dying, never seeing him again. Doesn't see his wives, doesn't see his grandchildren. I feel like that was the curse God gave her. Okay, you're going to be a deceptive? Okay, I'm going to take your favorite kid, and he's out of your life, and you're never going to see him again. Be careful about what curses you want to take upon yourself. That was not smart on her end. At the end here, we see the Khan is prepared. Jacob is wearing his brother's clothes, so he's got his brother's smell on him. Jacob has the skins of the goats on his hands and his neck. Like we've said, wow, what a hairy dude. But then again, when you're born with hair all over you and you're named Esau, which means hairy, I guess it's going to continue and get worse as you get older. And then lastly, Jacob's got the food prepared. She puts the food in his hands, ready to go. And Jacob here, he's just as guilty as his mom. As I said, I did the math, and I went backwards from Jacob's death, trying to figure out, okay, roughly what's the time frame. I was able to figure out what Joseph's age, when he was in Egypt. How old do you think Jacob is? I'm going to throw this out here. Give me a couple numbers. How old do you think he is right now? How old is Jacob?
About
40? 40? Back table. Come on, Mrs. Dunbar. How old? Brother Jordan, got a number? Huh? Well, he didn't get that old. Brother Tony, you got a number?
No idea.
Come on, give me a guess. You've never thought about how old was Jacob when he did this?
I don't have any idea. Well, if he lived 30 more years, no, that was Isaac. I'm sorry.
No, that was Isaac. He lives to be
25 or 30.
okay. That's where I was. I've always been like 25, 30, 40 years
A
old.
little bit younger.
30? 70 plus.
70s.
70s.
Jacob.
Jacob is 70 years old. Very possibly 76 years old. Yeah. If you do the math from, because I don't know the exact age I don't know the exact time Joseph was born, but I know he was born between the last 14 years that Jacob was working for Laban. Because you get, he worked for Laban 7 years. He was there with Laban for a total of 20 years. So the last 13 years, he has his wives, and several of his kids were born during that time in Laban's house, Joseph being one of them. Joseph was 30 when he comes before Pharaoh. And so he stands before Pharaoh. Then you have 7 years of plenty, 2 years of famine. At the end of 2 years of famine, Jacob's family comes, and Jacob dwells in the land for 13 years. And so I took Jacob's age at his death and just went backwards with the math. He's 70 years old here. Definitely knows better. This isn't some young kid who's getting, conned by his mom or just following his mom, which, he is following his mom, but he's a full-grown man. He should know better. He's going along with this intentionally. He intentionally chooses to deceive his father. So this isn't like, a young kid that, still trying to learn. He's a full-grown man. Look at verse 18. And he came unto his father and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, who art thou, my son? And Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, thy firstborn. I have done according as thou badest me. Arise, I pray thee, sit and eat of my venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac said unto his son, How is it that thou hast found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because the Lord thy God brought it to me. And Isaac said unto Jacob, Come near, I pray thee, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not. And Jacob went near unto Isaac his father, and he felt him, and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy, as his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. And he said, Art thou my very son Esau? And he said, I am. And he said, Bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless thee. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat, and he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Isaac said unto him, Come near now, and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his raiment, and blessed him, and said, See, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field, which the Lord hath blessed. Therefore God give thee of the dew of heaven, and of the fatness of the earth, and plenty of corn and wine. Let people serve thee, and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's son bow down to thee. Cursed be every one that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. The plot against Isaac works. Jacob gets the blessing. He is completely fooled. I've always wondered Jacob comes in with the food. I'm sure their voices sounded different. I'm wondering if Jacob was, Hey Dad, I got the food for you. Trying to make it sound like Esau, or did he just come in and just speak normal? Dad, obviously, if he did try to fake it, Dad knew better and could tell, like, this sounds like Jacob. And that right away, he comes in, tells him, I'm Esau and I have the food, and his hearing is working well, and he's going, something's not right. You don't sound like Esau. And I wonder if the other cue was because Esau, his whole life, he's not shown any desire towards the things of God. From what we gather, he didn't have a love for God, and we see that in the New Testament. Esau he had no desire for God, for the things of God. And I wonder if when Jacob says, because the Lord thy God brought it to me, I wonder if Isaac was like, wow, Jacob or Esau, you've never talked about the things of God, but all of a sudden he's mentioning my God. Like, interesting. And of course, he feels his son, he feels his arms, and he feels his neck, and it feels like Esau. And the food tasted good. I mean, man, Mom doctored up the seasonings really good. And then he smells them, and he smells like Esau, and Jacob's thinking, man, this must be the guy. I know the voice sounds off, but, maybe he's thinking, well, maybe he's sick or something. I don't know what lies were going through Isaac's mind at this point, because he's being deceived, so he's trying to figure out why does the voice not match the hairy arms and the smell? Something's off. But he pushes it off to the side. Any concerns he has, he's just like, no, this has got to be Esau. And when he smells him, it's just like, yep, this is my boy. And so he blesses him. He gives him this blessing. Is this blessing the Abrahamic covenant blessing? Anybody think it's the Abrahamic covenant blessing? Anybody think it's not the Abrahamic covenant blessing? I can't even get my own family to vote. Okay. Y'all are tired this week, huh? I've thought about this for many years, and studying this out today, God kind of gave me this, that I was looking through this, and I'm like, what? Is this the Abrahamic covenant? I'm like, I don't feel like it is. It doesn't really say anything about the covenant blessing. It just seems like just a regular blessing. And then it hit me. Who gave the Abrahamic covenant to Abraham? God did. Who gives it to Isaac? Not Abraham. God does. If we go back to chapter 26, I think it's 26. Verse 24 says, And the Lord appeared unto him the same night and said, I am the God of Abraham thy father. Fear not, for I am with thee, and will bless thee and multiply thy seed for my servant Abraham's sake. And he builded an altar there and called upon the name of the Lord. I believe it's even in, I think in 25 he says, I know in 26 he establishes it with him. So he establishes it with Isaac. Let's jump ahead. Look at chapter 28, verse 13. It says, and behold, the Lord stood above it. This is Jacob fell asleep. He's in a dream, and there's this ladder going up and down. And the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord God of Abraham thy father, and the God of Isaac. The land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed. And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south, and in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Isaac doesn't give the Abrahamic covenant blessing to Jacob. God does. So whether Jacob blessed Esau, let's just put Esau here. Let's say, well, what happened if Esau got this blessing? Then Esau got a blessing. But God's promise that he told Rebekah before the boys were born, 70 plus years ago, it still was in effect. God was going to make the younger be greater than the elder. And we'll see here in a minute that Esau gets a blessing, and it's a little bit different, but there's some similarities. I kind of find, like, okay, you get some stuff. He does get some things. It is interesting. Sometimes it's like, oh, he didn't get anything, but yeah, he didn't get the first fruits of it, but he does get some blessings. Isaac believes he's giving his blessing to Esau. Doesn't void what, if he did, it wouldn't have voided what he told Rebekah. But it's done. Jacob gets it. Now, I've thought about this, and most likely, Jacob should have gotten this blessing anyways, because Esau sold him his birthright. So this blessing belonged to Jacob. Isaac didn't recognize that transaction. As crooked as it was, I mean, Jacob was it was a pretty sleazy thing to do. Hey, let me give you some beans and cornbread, and you give me your birthright. Like that was not a fair trade at all whatsoever. He played on the fact his brother was very hungry and obviously, starving to death here. But rightfully, he owned it now, and so he should have had it. But Isaac didn't want to, he wanted to overlook it because he favored Esau over Jacob. And I think the favoritism there definitely played a factor as to why he told Esau, hey, go out in the field, I'm going to bless you. He ignored the fact that Esau had sold that birthright to Jacob because he favored Esau over Jacob. As soon as this blessing is done, I mean, Jacob no longer is out of that tent. And I pictured in my mind Jacob getting out of the tent. He's got the tray of goods, walks out of Dad's tent, and he sees in the distance his brother walking in with a deer over his shoulders. And Jacob's like, oh, buddy. Gets out of, makes himself scarce, gets the dishes out of the way because he doesn't want his brother to even think or know what he's done. Look at verse 30. And it came to pass as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. And he also had made savory meat, and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, let my father arise, and eat of his son's venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac his father said unto him, who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn, Esau. And Isaac trembled very exceedingly, and said, who? Where is he that hath taken venison and brought it me? And I have eaten all before thou camest, and have blessed him. Yea, and he shall be blessed. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, bless me, even me also, O my father. And he said, thy brother came with subtlety, and hath taken away thy blessing. And he said, is not he rightly named Jacob? For he hath supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright. Did Jacob really take away his birthright? No. He gave it away. He's lying here. He's still bitter about the birthright thing. But the bottom line is, Jacob did not steal it from him. He said, it's yours. Give me the food. He did not have to do that. Jacob did not, he may have strongly suggested, holding that fresh stew over his nose, but it was Esau who was like, oh yeah, you can have it. He didn't care about it. He did not value the birthright. That's why he sold it. Took away my birthright, and behold, now he hath taken away my blessing. And he said, hast thou not reserved a blessing for me? And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him thy Lord, and all his brethren I have given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him, and what shall I do now unto thee, my son? And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Jacob gets out of there. Esau comes in, and I'm sure the color in Isaac's face probably disappeared, because here comes Esau going, hey, Dad, I'm here. I'm ready for you to bless me. I got the food. And he says, who art thou? I'm sure Esau's going, what? Why are you questioning who I am, Dad? What's going on? Why are you asking that kind of a question? And that had to have gone through his mind, because his answer is, I am thy son, thy firstborn Esau. Like, why would you ask a thing like that? And then it says, Isaac trembled very exceedingly. He was visibly shaken over the fact that he realized, I have been deceived. Whoever was here before me just got the blessing. I just blessed them. And I did not give it to Esau. And he realizes it's Jacob. It was Jacob. Esau here, he's angry at Jacob's deception. And yeah, Jacob was deceptive here. But the fact of the matter is, Esau sold his birthright. When Dad said, it's time for me to bless you, what Esau should have said, what Esau should have done was said, Dad, that first blessing has to go to Jacob. I sold my birthright to him years ago. It belongs to him. You need to bless him first, and then you can bless me. That's what he rightfully should have done. I think deep down he knows that, but he's mad. He's bitter. He's angry. He doesn't care. This family, every single one of them, they're all about them. Esau is all about Esau. Isaac is all about Isaac. Fill my belly up, and then I'll bless you. Had he not been foolish and done that, he could have just blessed his son right there. But he didn't. Jacob, man, well, we already know Jacob's all about himself. Most of his life, Jacob is looking out for number one, Jacob. And then Rebekah, well, she has some interests at heart. She's not fully looking out for herself. She's looking out for her son, but it's only her one and only favorite. Look in Hebrews chapter 12. We get a mention of Esau here. Hebrews 12:16 says, lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For ye know how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected. For he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. Esau cries. I mean, he's crying here. We see him crying here. I'm sure there was some weeping later for several days, and he's just he's hoping that just, well, breaking down and crying, maybe that will make it better. But it doesn't. Nothing can change the fact that he sold his birthright, and that first blessing went to his brother. And he gets a little something. His dad musters up something. He's like, hey, your brother got everything. He gives him the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven. Blesses that, hey, your fields will be rich and full. But his life is a little bit harder. He's going to live by the sword is how he's going to have to live. But he is promised that one day he'll break the yoke of his brother and he'll be on his own, which really it kind of happens right away. I don't know, maybe he's always lived in his brother's shadow for a time, but Esau does become his own nation. He's the nation of Edom, and they become their own people, and they are a very great people. But eventually these two brothers, they go their separate ways. They end up kind of living separate from themselves. But then we see the result of all of this. So these last couple of verses, Esau is plotting to kill Jacob. He's had it with Jacob. Jacob, in his mind, he deceived him and stole his birthright, when the reality is he gave it to him. He sold it to him. Now he's going, man, he's stolen my blessing from me, deceived dad, taken my blessing. I'm left with nothing. And so his final thought is, well, murder. We'll kill him. Because then he won't get anything, because he's dead. And I'll get it all. Look at verse 41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. He was going to have to wait 30 more years, remember? They think dad's dying soon, but dad doesn't die for another 30 plus years. And these words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah. And she sent and called Jacob her younger son, and said unto her younger son, and said unto him, behold, thy brother Esau, as touching thee, doth comfort himself, purposing to kill thee. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, and arise, flee thou to Laban my brother, to Haran, and tarry with him a few days, until thy brother's fury turn away, until thy brother's anger turn away from thee, and he forget that which thou hast done to him. Then I will send and fetch thee from thence, and fetch with that. Why should I be deprived also of you both in one day? And Rebekah said to Isaac, I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob take a wife of the daughters of Heth, such as these, which are of the daughters of the land, what good shall my life do me? Esau plots to kill Jacob once his dad has passed away. Esau's problem is he can't keep it to himself. He decides to, I don't know who he tells, but he tells somebody, okay? Doesn't look like he was scheming out loud in his tent and someone overheard him. It looks like he told some other people his scheme. They hear it. Somebody decides to tell Rebekah, hey, I just overheard your son is going to kill, your older son's going to kill your younger son once Isaac dies. And Rebekah starts scheming again. Any wonder why there we go. Now we wonder, if we ever wondered where did Jacob get his scheming from, we know he gets it from his mother. Because here's her second scheme. Okay? She's not honest with Isaac. Whatever has happened, and I really believe it's when Isaac told her, hey, you play my sister, I don't want to die for you. Play my sister. I think that embarrassed her. I think that humiliated her. I think she lost respect for Isaac, and it's very evident in this chapter. Twice she deceives her husband. Because we see her, she tells Jacob, hey, I'm going to send you to my brother. You hide out there. When Esau's cooled off and he seems fine, I'll send word and you can come back. But then what does she tell Isaac? She tells Isaac something completely different. She doesn't tell him that. She's like, well, here, how about this? Hey, I don't want the daughters of Heth here for Jacob to marry. How about we send him to my brother Laban? And, and we'll see that in the next chapter, but She'd rather he get a wife somewhere else. She's not honest with him. And, kind of, hey, you tell one lie, you got to tell another lie to cover up that lie, right? She can't come to Isaac and say, hey, by the way, it wasn't just Jacob. I helped plot this scheme and tricked you to give him the blessing. Oh, and now our oldest is going to kill our youngest because of it, so we need to send him away so his life was spared. Now, she feels like she's got to keep covering it up. And so she schemes a second time against her husband with Jacob in hopes to save Jacob's life. What do we get out of this chapter? Look, be genuine in your life. Don't be fake. Be who you really are. And you say, well, how I really am isn't that good. Okay, well, if we're to be like Christ, let's actually work to be like him. Something I've learned over the years is, man, if I want to grow in my Christian life, it takes intentional purpose to actually grow. And it's not always easy work to do. When we were kids, as we were growing, we had to learn new skills, right? It was hard. There are times you're like, man, I can't do this. I hear that from my oldest a lot. I can't do this. Yes, you can. It's not easy. It takes a little bit of time, right? But then over time, it's nothing. I remember when I had trying to figure out how to tie my shoes. I'm like, how do you do that? Like, man, what? And now I don't even have to think about it. I don't sit there and like, all right, get the loop and then do the. No, I don't even think about it. I tie my shoes. Well, Christian life is like that. There are times growth can be painful. Growth is difficult at times, but it's worth doing. And if we're going to be genuine, well, we need to continue to grow. There's no point in our Christian life where we can say, well, let me rephrase that. There is one point in your Christian life where you can say, I have arrived. It's when you're dead and you're up in heaven. All right? Then you can say, I have arrived. I don't need to grow anymore. I have reached complete perfection. But until then, we have to continue to grow. And so we need to be putting into practice what God has told us to do and keep working at it and be the genuine you for everybody else. Don't try to be a fake. Any questions or comments on that chapter? All right, get the prayer list out.